Hello, hello. I still feel like I just cleaned them, but it's like I still got something on them. Hello, hello. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Hello, hello. All right, black eyes tonight. Hello, hello. Hopped off as fast as he hopped on. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Hello. I don't know if I just, because my eyes are tired tonight or my glasses, but probably both. Hello. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Hello. Nobody wants to talk to me. They're hopping off as fast as they're hopping on. Here's a mess. Hello. Who wants to get on with me tonight? I'm gonna wiggle my tripod here. There we go. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Hello, hello. If you're not familiar, my name is Renee. I'm from South Dakota. Welcome. Haugen, how are you tonight? Welcome, welcome. Anybody gonna talk to me tonight? Hello, hello. Tracy from Tennessee, welcome. Huckster88, thank you for the badge. Appreciate that. Just trying to get comfortable here. You're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. How are you? I'm tired and my neck hurts, so I don't know how long I'm gonna be on, but I'm gonna try and muddle through this. Huckster88, thank you for the badge again. Doing good. I'm really, really tired. Can you tell? It's been a long day. Thank you for the badge. I appreciate that. I'm tired and I've had a pain in my neck off and on since last week, and so I'm just gonna muddle through tonight. So if you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Oh, sorry. Sometimes I try to sneak a nap in before I get on, but that didn't happen today. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Thank you for the hearts. I don't know who sent them. Not yet, anyway. Maybe it'll show me eventually. Just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Hello, hello. My name is Renee. I'm from South Dakota. Welcome. I'm just gonna let a few more people hop on here and then we'll get going. Maybe. Okay, it's not good for start yawning. Thank you for the hearts. I don't know who's sending them. It's not telling me. So if you're sending them, thank you. I appreciate that. What's the weather here? Robbie. Hello. Where are you from, Robbie? I'm from South Dakota. Julie, thank you for the badge. Haugen, thank you for the badge. I don't know who's sending the hearts. It's not telling me, guys. So if you're sending them, thank you. It was warm and nice out, and then it rained. You did. Okay. Well, thank you. And Julie, thank you. Robbie, thank you for the badge. Julie, thank you for the badge. I appreciate that. Okay, guys. Well, I'm already running kind of behind, and I'm just so tired tonight. So I'm gonna try to muddle through this kind of quickly. I've also got a pain in my neck, so I'm not sure how long I'm gonna be on. Is it Tanya? Welcome. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. All right, well, Thank you for the hearts. I cannot stop yawning now. Sorry, guys. I did it once. And now I can't stop. Okay, so I better get going. I'm glad I have tomorrow off. I am so tired. I need a break. Even though I was just off on Sunday, but the last 2 days have just kicked my butt. Okay, guys, so if you're new here, my name is Renee. I'm from South Dakota. Welcome. If you're just hopping on and you're new here, tell me who you are, where you're from. Sorry, the chat just caught my attention. Sorry about that. Squirrel. Probably gonna have lots of those. I'm tired tonight. So like I said, if you're new here, tell me who you are, where you're from. Katie from Maine, welcome. My name is Renee. I'm from South Dakota. Cindy from Houston, welcome. So I started my TikTok in March of 2024, and the reason I started my TikTok is because in September of 2023, for TikTok purposes, my husband unalived himself, and that's when I discovered that I had abilities to talk to my spirit guides. Robbie, am I saying that right? Robbie from Oklahoma, welcome. And they slowly breadcrumb me then to my purpose, which is to be here with all of you people. Okay, good, glad. Sandy, thank you for the badge. I appreciate that. Thank you for all the hearts. I assume that's Julie just laying on the screen. I appreciate that so much. And so, like I said, my guides breadcrumb me to my purpose, which is that I had to go through everything that I went through in my life in order to help other people through their loss. Anna from North Carolina, welcome. Katie, thank you for the badge. I appreciate that. So if you're not familiar with my story, just a quick rundown. My husband and I were together for 32 years. We were never apart more than 2 weeks in that 32 years. And so when my husband decided to check out, I didn't know what to do. I had been with him since I was 16 years old. I didn't know an adult life without him. And so people just kept telling me to put one foot in front of the other, and I literally didn't know how to do that. And so once I decided that I was going to stay on this planet, because I wasn't sure in the beginning that I was going to, because I didn't know how to live without him. And so once I had decided that I was going to stay, I had to find a way to heal myself. Thank you for the follow, Katie. I apologize. I appreciate that. And so my husband didn't leave me in a great spot financially, and so therapy was out, and I'm the circle that don't fit in the square. I'm the unique girl, and so I knew group therapy was going to be out also. And so, like I said, I had to figure out a way to heal myself. And so with my guides' help, I started to deep dive into meditation. Abbott, how are you, buddy? Good to see you. I'm really, really tired, so I'm trying to muddle through tonight. So bear with me, guys. I'm normally a lot more chipper, but I'm so tired, and I've got a pain in my neck I've had off and on for a week. So, and so, like I said, long story short, I had to figure out how to heal myself. So I deep dived into meditation and journaling, and am slowly learning how to heal. And then my guide said that's your purpose in life, is to teach others how to heal. The first puzzle piece they ever give me in meditation was, what heals you will heal others. And so that's why I'm here. So I only have two rules on my page. Thank you for the badge, Abbott. I appreciate that. The first one is I just ask that you be kind. And the second one is we talk absolutely no politics here. It's just not at all what my page is about. I always like to say I am on my journey of life where I am, and you are on your journey of life where you are, and none of us are going to agree on everything. So you might hear something here on my page like that I talk to my spirit guides. Maybe you don't agree, and that's fine. I'm not here to convince you. I'm not here to change your agree, and that's fine. I'm not here to convince you. I'm not here to change your mind. I'm just here to uplift and help others, give them a community to go if they're lonely or they're dealing with loss or not dealing with loss and they need help. So that's what my community is about. Welcome. When I go live, my guides always give me a topic, generally. Sometimes they just give it to me and go on. And sometimes they give me a topic and they give me something to talk about. Tonight, it's a little bit of both. So tonight we're talking about, are you overriding hurts, right? This tends to be a common theme, right? People maybe have a loss, and a loss can mean anything. It can mean somebody passed away. It can mean a loss of a relationship, the loss of a job, the loss of a friendship. A loss can mean many different things to many different people, right? No, thank you. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. If you're not familiar, my name is Renee, and I'm from South Dakota. Welcome. And so this happens, like I said, you have a loss and you're like, I don't know how to deal with it, so I'm not going to deal with it, right? And if you're new here, I like to say sometimes, you can sweep things under a rug, but you can only sweep it under the rug for so long before you trip over the rug, right? Is it Myra? Did I say that right? Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Thank you for all the likes, Julie. So when emotions come up, are you sweeping them under the rug, right? I know I've told this story many times. If you're new here, I had a full-term stillborn in 1994, and I had a 3-year-old to take care of at home. And so I didn't feel like I could deal with it, or I had time to deal with it. And so I just swept my emotions under the rug. And about 2 years later, those emotions came back, and they came back hard. It was like I hit a brick wall. And so I don't recommend that. I recommend that, you deal with it on the spot. I know a lot of people have childhood traumas and traumas from early, maybe in your early adult life. And it's just easier to move on and pretend they didn't happen. Well, the problem with that is that then they manifest in other ways, right? Especially childhood trauma, because we think, oh, I'm an adult now. It's gone. It's okay. I'm okay, right? Well, what people don't realize is when you turn 18 years old, it doesn't stop at the door. They just, like I said, they just manifest into other ways. So, does anybody here have anxiety, depression, PTSD, a drug and alcohol problem, right? Those are ways that they manifest, right? When we don't deal with stuff, it manifests. Is information overload and consumerism the greatest trauma? I'm not sure. Hey, Faith Ann. Yep, Storm Chaser 2020. Do you have a name and where you're from? Sorry, make sure I didn't miss anything else in the chat. I mean, I don't know if I would say it's the greatest trauma, but I would say that it could be a trauma, for sure. So if you experience any of these things, more than likely I would say, now, don't get me wrong, I do believe that some people just have clinical depression, right? There is such thing, I do believe that. But I do believe that the majority of the time, internet itself is a mental illness. It can be. I'm hopefully using it for good, right? I think that the internet can be a good thing, but yes, I do agree that it can lead to not so good things, for sure. Beer 30 helps. Well, yeah, it'll only help for so long. And the problem and that leads into a whole nother thing, and I won't get into that tonight, but yeah, it's not really helping. It just kind of, it's kind of like the rug, right? So you're just masking the issue, and then eventually, it's just going to come out in crazy, scary ways. But so like I said, if you think you have one of these things, right, generally we have one of those things because maybe panic attacks, right? Because of some kind of trauma or loss that we've had that we haven't dealt with. And so it just manifests itself in other ways. Echo, hey buddy, how are you? At times I'm happy, meal short of a French fry. Always good to see you. Good to see you too. I am so tired tonight, so I'm just kind of trying to muddle through this. So tonight we're talking about, are you overriding hurts, right? A lot of times, we have traumas or a loss of some sort, and we just try to mask it with other things. But what we don't realize is that's exactly what we're doing. We're masking it, right? Just like the gentleman. Yep. Oh, root beer. Okay. I love root beer. Western therapists were once kicked out of Rwanda. I believe it. I believe that. Megan86, thank you for the badge. One Wheel Grandma talks about this. I'm not familiar with that. Megan, where are you from? And I'm not sure your name, the beer dude. Where are you from? So have you trained yourself to avoid your emotions, right? When emotions come from something, do you start scrolling? That's where the internet can be dangerous, maybe. Do you turn on the television? Do you put your focus somewhere else, right? Are you LA? Welcome. Glad to have you here. Are you distracting yourself from your emotions, from those hurts, some way, shape, or form, right? We all have a tendency to do that. Are you, like I said, the internet, the television? Are you becoming a workaholic because you have an issue and you don't want to deal with it, right? It's so easy to mask. And like I said, all of those things are usually a symptom of a loss or a trauma. Okay, so my guide said, stop it. She's very forward sometimes. And she says, it's time to deal with it, right? What better time to deal than now, right? Just do it. She tells me that all the time. Just do it. My grandma used to say that too. So what we're going to talk about tonight is how do you deal with it, right? Where do you begin? Maybe you have more than one trauma. So where do you begin, right? Pick one. Figure out what trauma you want to deal with first. Start there and work your way down the line, right? So how do you do that? One, it's time to learn to love yourself and to heal, right? And then recognizing the signs and symptoms is the first steps towards addressing it, right? What are some of the signs? What are the symptoms? Anxiety, depression, PTSD, all that stuff we talked about. Drug and alcohol problem, right? Those are the symptoms. So if you have those, that means you have an underlying condition that's just manifested into that. So then what do you do? Steps to addressing it. 1, shadow work. Does everybody here know what shadow work is? If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Shadow work. First of all, recognizing when did the hurt and the trauma start? When do you remember it starting? Like if somebody was abusing you, when did the abuse start, right? When maybe you have low self-esteem and I'm trying to think of the words. Sorry, I have fibromyalgia and I forget words every now and again. But just identifying when did that start, right? Did you have a loss? Maybe somebody lost a parent, let's say at a young age, and you've had trauma since then because you never dealt with those emotions because, maybe you didn't have somebody around you to help you deal with those emotions, so you just stuffed it, right? We're good at stuffing it. Like I said, you can only stuff it underneath the rug for so long, and then eventually you're going to trip over the rug. So why not start and deal with it now? So what I always say is identify it, figure out when did it start, maybe where did it come from, right? Maybe you have low self-esteem. So where did the low self-esteem come from? At what point in your life did somebody tell you, one, more than likely that you weren't worthy, right? Generally, that's what low self-esteem is from, is that somewhere in your life you felt that you weren't worthy, right? And that you weren't worthy of love or to love yourself. And so you have to identify when did that start, okay? And then that's when you walk through that, right? What I always call the storm. So for me, in my case, when my husband unalived himself, okay, that was my storm, right? And so I had to walk myself back through that storm. And, obviously we all know what I identified what it was, right? Him unaliving himself. Okay, and now I have to walk myself through that. And how did that make me feel? And, now where am I? You know what I mean? Because for me, I lost 32 years of my life imploded that day, right? My entire world imploded. I didn't have a world left. The only thing I had left that resembled my old life was my kids and my pets and my apartment. and my friend. And so identifying it and then walking through that storm. Am I glitching? Because again, on my side, I'm glitching tonight. So just curious. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Okay, so walking through that storm, feeling those emotions. So what are some ways that you can walk through that storm? Journaling about it, right? For me, journaling was huge. I would sit and I would cry and I would journal. Some days it would be, I'm angry with you, with my husband. Other days it would be, I'm sad and I miss you. And other days it was, until I walked through that, it was a lot of guilt. I had a lot of guilt, until I could learn to say that I'm not responsible for somebody else's choices, right? He made that choice and I'm not responsible for that. Thanks for the badge, Wayne. So if you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. So tonight we're talking about, are you overriding hurts? And so some of the ways that we can, first you have to identify that hurt, right? And then walk through that. What are some other ways? For me, screaming. Just recently, I've been more than vocal about how I was still angry with him. Certain situations in life that frustrated me because he kind of put me in that situation, and so I would be frustrated and still angry with him. I worked through the guilt pretty quickly, but the anger took me longer. And my guides were like, that's holding you back from this new chapter. You've got to get over this anger. And I'm like, okay, so how do I do that, right? And one day it just took a conversation between me and him, right? And how I felt about it. I'm angry because, it's not to use foul language, but it's really effing hard with you not here, right? Financially, it's effing hard, right? I had to have that conversation with him. Do you realize the position that you put me in? You knew that you had to have known the position you were going to leave me in. Although, that's a tricky subject too, because I don't think he was in his right mind. I don't think anybody who does that's in their right mind, right? Mentally, right? But just having that conversation anyway, because like I've talked about before, just because it's not logical doesn't mean that I don't still feel that, right? Like I said, in my head, it's, you had to have known that you were going to leave me in this awful, awful position, right? And even though that's how my feelings, and my feelings are valid, doesn't mean that he did know that. Does that make sense? Right? So it's still okay to validate your feelings, even though they're maybe not logical. Does that make sense? And so screaming. I've screamed. That day I screamed here just a couple weeks ago. It was like we had this conversation and I just screamed. I was in my truck. I live in an apartment, so I can't scream here. I was in my truck. Nobody could hear me on the way home from work, and I just screamed. Sometimes you just gotta let it out. There again, feeling it, not stuffing it. And apparently for the last year and a half, I've been stuffing it. That part of it, the anger part, right? And so I had to feel it and release it. That's really important, and releasing it. And I can tell you that for me, when I got home that day, it was like 100-pound weight had been lifted from my shoulders. So I think I released it because I haven't been having those feelings, the anger, as much as I was. Or I should say, I haven't been. Obviously, I'm still frustrated with life sometimes. We all get frustrated. But I felt it, and I felt you have to feel it to heal it. So, another one, grounding and nature, right? And 4, self-love, self-care. So journaling. If you're not familiar with journaling, just writing your thoughts and your feelings down, right? I'm angry that you did this to me. Maybe somebody abused you. Maybe you're angry at that person or the person who let it happen. Whatever it may be, right? Just journaling. Don't think about it. Just write, right? Journaling is an amazing thing because it gets your emotions out of here onto paper, and that really helps. And then the screaming, like I said, just go where there is nobody and just scream, right? let it all out. Scream, cry, do whatever you got to do. Sometimes maybe it's breaking something. Maybe you got something that you know you can break, and just take it somewhere and just bust the shit out of it. Pardon my French, right? Whatever it takes to get that emotion out. So the grounding in nature, if you're not familiar with grounding, getting your feet in the grass, in the dirt, the sand, water, whatever it may be, getting out into nature, doing hikes, that is amazing. Nature is amazing and healing, and so is grounding. Like I said, taking a hike. For me, I would go sit over by a lake and I would journal in nature and I would cry. It was extremely healing. Another one, so then I kind of put that in the self-care category. So then don't forget your self-care, right? When you're going through all of these emotions and working through that stuff, you have to remember to give yourself self-care, right? Replenish yourself, whatever it may be, whether it be exercise, hiking, swimming, meditation. Give yourself some self-care. Show yourself some love. Show yourself some grace, because you're going to need that when you go through all those emotions, right? Because that is very draining, and that's where the grounding comes in. The grounding is amazing. When you've gone through all these emotions, you get outside and you ground, and that kind of fills you back up, okay? And so does that self-care. It fills that cup back up, because you just, it'll drain you to walk through this storm. Does anybody have any questions? I just feel like I'm rattling on and nobody's saying anything. Are comments not coming through tonight? Good night. I hope it's a good night. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Quiet bunch tonight. Okay. So, and then last but not least, my guide talked about finding a support system. And this, like I said, therapy for me was out. So for me, I had a best friend who, thank goodness, would take me dancing. And, there's been times in the last 23 months or 22 months, whatever it's been, she knows, and I have a friend on here, Wayne knows, when Wayne texts me and said, how are you doing? And when I say I'm fine, he knows I'm not fine generally, right? And so does she, right? Or she'll call and she's like, I'm coming over, and she'll drag me out of my apartment, right? So it's really important to find a support system, whether that be friends, family, groups. Maybe you're a group person. I'm not a group person, not saying that you're not though. So find a support system. That's huge. And that's pretty much everything I got tonight. Does anybody have any questions, any comments? Anybody? Everybody's so quiet. Hello, hello? Nobody wants to talk to me tonight? Julie just laying on the screen with the hearts. I love it. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate that. Okay, guys. Well, if you're not familiar, I also have a YouTube channel. It's under Scorpio Medium. So I am a medium. You said something earlier. Did I miss it? I don't think I got it, Julie. See, I hate it when they hide comments. It sucks. Scroll up. What'd you say? I never saw anything. It's not there. You can send it again. I know you don't like to talk. You don't like to comment. So you can find my YouTube channel under Scorpio Medium. If you're not a subscriber, I'd love it if you went over there and subscribed. All the videos you find here, you'll find over there. The only difference is if you wanted to catch a live and maybe you missed it, I upload all my lives over there usually the next day. Lately it's been taking a couple days. I'm usually live Sunday through Wednesday. We're trying out a new time slot, 7:30-ish, a little after tonight. Seeing how that works. If not, we'll go back between 7:30 generally. If you're interested in a reading with somebody who has crossed over, you'll find my email down in the bio. This Nana's heart is sad. Uh-oh. Elaborate. Now you got me concerned. So if you would like to set up a reading, you can go to my email down below and email me for that. from now till Sunday till 7:30 p.m. All readings are 10% off. There's normally $40, so what is that, $36 or something? What's going on, Julie? I'll wait to see if your comment's going to come up. Does anybody else have anything else to talk about tonight? Anybody had a loss or anything they want to talk about? Anybody? If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. If you're not, if it's nothing's coming through, if you're sent it. Oh, there we go. Oh, I'm so sorry. My daughter had, what, 2? She had a stillborn and 1 miscarried. Yeah. I am so sorry. You know, I always think that it's just not meant to be at that time, right? So in the spiritual world, we always talk about, so you choose, right? That's what we believe, is that you choose, your soul chooses to come, and when it comes, right? Chooses the life that it's going to have before it comes. And sometimes those babies just choose that they're just not ready to come yet. But just know, Julie, that generally those babies that are miscarried generally will come in the family somewhere later. Generally, that's how it works. So if your daughter-in-law has another baby, generally that soul will come in at that time. Not always. I've known where they'll come in maybe as a niece or a nephew. So yeah, they choose. So that soul will come eventually. It's just not ready to come yet. For some reason it decided it wasn't ready. And that's okay. So, but it'll come eventually. Okay guys, does anybody else have anything else they want to talk about? Anybody had a loss or anything? Anybody going once? Aw, thanks for sharing the live, Jen. Yep, the time wasn't right. Exactly. It's all about timing. For sure. All right, well, if nobody else has anything else they want to talk about or share tonight, or any questions. Okay, well, I hope everybody has a good night. I appreciate all the love you give me, all the hearts, everything. I appreciate you guys so very much. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have a community. So welcome to my community. I forgot to say that in the beginning. My community is your community. That's what it's here for. So thank you very much for hopping on with me tonight. I hope you all have a great day tomorrow. And on that note, I'm going to say until we meet again.